Be me, Zoe. I'm the youngest in my family, the only girl sandwiched between two older brothers. My whole life has been a study in contrasts because of them. Liam is the oldest. He's the strong, silent type, the kind of guy who can fix an engine, build a deck, and then not say a word about it for the rest of the day. He runs his own construction company, built it from nothing with his own two hands. He's married to Olivia. She is, and always has been, stunning. The kind of woman who walks into a room and all the air gets sucked out. Then there's Ethan, the middle child. He's the opposite of Liam. He's a talker, a feeler, always ready with a joke or a supportive word. He works as a graphic designer, a creative soul through and through. His wife is Sophia. She's bright and bubbly, always online, sharing little pieces of their life with the world. She's what you'd call an influencer, I guess. I always thought I had them all figured out. In my head, Liam was the poster child for traditional masculinity. The provider, the protector. A good man, sure, but a bit emotionally stunted, trapped in a role society forced on him. Olivia, I saw as the woman who was smart enough to secure a man who would provide for her. Ethan was the modern man, in touch with his feelings, always eager to please. The kind of guy who wasn't afraid of being vulnerable. And Sophia was the new age career woman, turning her life into a brand, empowered. I saw their marriages as these neat little boxes that fit the theories I had about the world. Liam and Olivia had the classic patriarchal bargain. He provides security, she provides beauty, and keeps the home nice. Ethan and Sophia were the progressive couple, equal partners navigating the modern world. From the outside, both looked perfect, genuinely happy. Family get-togethers were always loud and full of laughter. The brothers would be grilling, Olivia would be holding court, telling some fabulous story, and Sophia would be documenting it all with a smile. I'd watch them and feel this weird mix of pity and envy. I pitied them for being stuck in these predictable roles, but I envied the ease of it all. The simple, uncomplicated happiness they seemed to share. I used to think their wives were the ones holding it all together, the emotional core. I believed that the woman was always the heart of the home, the one who nurtured the relationship and made it thrive. I thought my brothers were lucky. They'd found strong women who complemented them. That was my operating theory for years. Then I came home to stay for a longer stretch of time, sometime last spring, and I got a front row seat to watch my theories burn to the ground. It didn't happen all at once. It was a slow decay, like a house being eaten by termites. From the outside, everything looks fine, but inside, the foundations are turning to dust. The first sign was with Liam and Olivia. It was a Tuesday or Wednesday night, something unremarkable. We'd just finished dinner. Liam was talking about a big project his company had just landed, a multi-home development. It was a huge deal for him. Years of work paying off. He was proud. You could see it in his eyes. Even if his voice was as steady as ever, I was happy for him. My dad was beaming, but Olivia was quiet. She was just stirring her drink, a little frown on her face. Later that night, I was heading to bed and passed their room. The door was slightly ajar. I heard her voice. It wasn't angry or loud. It was worse. It was disappointed, cold. She was talking about her friend's husband, some guy who worked in finance. He'd just been made a partner at his firm. They were buying a third house, a place by the lake. She wasn't yelling. She was just laying out facts, a calm, methodical execution of my brother's joy. She told him that while his little construction business was cute, it had a ceiling, that he worked with dirt and wood, while real men worked with numbers and power. She said she was happy for his little success, but he needed to think bigger, that she didn't want to be the wife of a man who smelled like sawdust at the end of the day. I heard my brother's voice, just once. It was quiet. He asked her if she wasn't proud of what he'd built. There was a pause. Then I heard her laugh. It was a soft, cruel sound. She told him pride doesn't pay for trips to Europe or get you a table at the best restaurants. I stood there, frozen in the hallway, my heart pounding. I never heard Liam's response. There was just silence. I crept away feeling like I'd witnessed something I was never supposed to see. The next day, Liam was his usual self, quiet, steady. But something had changed. There was a light that had gone out in his eyes. He looked tired. Not physically tired from work, but soul tired. My first instinct was to defend Olivia in my mind. My programming kicked in. She's just pushing him to be better. She's ambitious. She's not content to be a simple housewife. I told myself a strong woman challenges her man. She doesn't let him get complacent. I convinced myself that what I heard was just a moment of marital friction, not a symptom of a deeper poison. I was wrong. It was the first drop of venom. A week or two later, the focus shifted to Ethan and Sophia. They came over for a barbecue. Ethan was excited. He'd been working on a personal art project, a series of digital paintings. He hadn't done any personal art in years, and he was finally getting back to it. He brought his tablet to show our dad. He was nervous, but so full of passion. As he was showing the art, explaining the concept, Sophia got out her phone. She started filming him. "Okay, babe, can you say that last part again?" she chirped. "The part about reclaiming your artistic identity. It's so powerful. My followers will love this." Ethan's flow was broken. He faltered. "Soph, can I just show them? We can talk about this later." Her smile didn't reach her eyes. This is the perfect organic moment. We need to capture it. It's great content for our journey series. Our journey, not his. Ours. He sighed, a sound of profound weariness, and then he basically performed his passion for her camera. The genuine excitement was gone, replaced by the hollow recitation of a script. He became a character in the story of his own life. The whole afternoon was like that. Every interaction was a potential post. My mom would tell a story about their childhood, and Sophia would be typing out a caption on her phone before the story was even finished. Liam would be at the grill, and she'd be taking 100 pictures from different angles. Man who can cook. Ethan tried to start a conversation with me about a movie we both liked, and she cut in to ask if he could reenact his reaction for a funny video. He wasn't allowed to just exist. He had to perform. His every move, every thought, every feeling was raw material for her brand. I watched my brother, this warm, funny, vibrant man, turn into a walking, talking prop. He was constantly on edge, watching her for cues. Is this a moment we can share? Or is this a moment we have to film? Again, the old programming tried to kick in. She's a modern entrepreneur. She's monetizing her life. It's a valid career path. He's a supportive partner. But this time, it was harder to believe, because I saw his face when he thought no one, not even the camera, was looking. He looked trapped, exhausted. He was being hollowed out from the inside, one curated moment at a time. The contrast between the two situations was stark. Olivia was tearing Liam down for what he was. Sophia was building a fantasy on top of Ethan, erasing who he was. Two different methods, same result. The slow, methodical destruction of a good man. Things started to escalate over the summer. I began noticing things I couldn't unsee. One afternoon, I brought in the mail. There was a letter for Liam from a credit card company I didn't recognize. It felt thicker than a normal bill. Normally, I'd just put it on the counter, but curiosity got the better of me. It was already slightly opened at the seam. I slid out the statement. My stomach dropped. The balance was astronomical, tens of thousands of dollars. I scanned the list of charges. High-end boutiques I'd never heard of, spa packages with names like The Goddess Rejuvenation, a weekend trip to a 5-star hotel in the city that Liam definitely wasn't on. The card was in his name. His business account was linked for payments. My mind raced, trying to find a logical explanation. Maybe it was a business card? No, the charges were too personal. Maybe he knew? Maybe this was their arrangement. But then I remembered the tired look in his eyes, the way he'd started staying later at work, taking on the extra side jobs. He wasn't working to grow the business. He was working to stay afloat. He was shoveling money into a furnace that would never be full, just to keep the peace. I put the statement back in the envelope, my hands shaking. Olivia's complaints about not having enough weren't about a lack of money. They were a tool, a way to justify her endless spending and keep him constantly striving, constantly feeling like he wasn't enough. It was a debt of money, but also a debt of the soul. He could never pay it off. A week or so after that, there was another incident with Ethan and Sophia. It was something incredibly minor. Ethan had a dentist appointment, and his phone was off for an hour. When he turned it back on, it was flooded with frantic texts from Sophia. She hadn't been able to reach him, and instead of assuming he was busy, she had crafted an entire narrative. I saw it because a friend of mine follows her and sent it to me, asking if everything was okay. Sophia had posted a series of tearful videos. She spoke to the camera about the anxiety of being married to someone who isn't a great communicator. She talked about the importance of being checked in with your partner. She framed his hour of unavailability as him being emotionally distant and neglectful. She never said he was at the dentist. She let her thousands of followers fill in the blanks to speculate about the problems in their marriage. The comments were a flood of, "You deserve better, Queen," and "He needs to step up." When Ethan got home, I was there. I heard him trying to explain, his voice full of confusion. "Soph, it was a filling. My phone was in the car. What's going on?" She didn't look at him. She was looking at the engagement statistics on her phone. "It doesn't matter, Ethan," she said, her voice detached. "The narrative is already out there. The post is doing amazing numbers. It's relatable." He just stared at her. "My life, our real life, is just a narrative to you?" She finally looked up from her phone, and her expression was one of genuine annoyance. "Don't be so dramatic. It's my work. You're supposed to support me." He didn't have a response. He just walked out of the room. She had taken a normal, everyday event and twisted it into a public drama to feed her audience. She had humiliated him for profit. This was beyond simple oversharing. It was a betrayal, a public crucifixion for clicks. After these two incidents, I knew I couldn't stay silent. I felt this misguided sense of female solidarity. I thought if I could just talk to Olivia and Sophia, woman to woman, I could make them see. I thought I could appeal to their better nature. I was an idiot. I found Olivia alone one afternoon, getting ready to go out. She was in a good mood. I tried to be gentle. I started by saying I was worried about Liam, that he seemed stressed. She just laughed. "He's a man. They're supposed to be stressed. It means they're working hard." I pushed a little harder. I mentioned the financial pressure. I didn't say I saw the bill, but I hinted at it. Her good mood vanished. Her eyes went hard. "Let me give you some advice, Zoe," she said, turning to face me fully. "Never lower your standards. The moment you do, a man gets lazy. Liam needs this pressure. It keeps him sharp. It's my job to set the standard, and it's his job to meet it. That's the deal." I was stunned. "The deal? You're his wife, not his boss. And you're his little sister who doesn't understand how the real world works. When you have a man who provides for you, you'll get it. Until then, stay out of my marriage." The conversation was over. She had effortlessly framed me as a naive, jealous child. My talk with Sophia went just as badly, though the tactics were different. I caught her while she was editing a video. I tried a different approach. I talked about the importance of privacy, of having a sacred space in a relationship that the rest of the world doesn't get to see. She listened patiently, a soft, sympathetic smile on her face. When I was done, she put her hand on my arm. "Oh, honey," she said, her voice dripping with pity. "I understand why you feel that way. It's a very traditional viewpoint. But you see, our strength is our transparency. By sharing our struggles, we help thousands of people feel less alone. We're building a community." I tried to argue that what she shared wasn't the truth, that it was a twisted version of events designed to make Ethan look bad. Her smile tightened. "It's my truth, Zoe, and my platform is for my truth. Ethan understands. He supports my work. I think the real issue here is that you're uncomfortable with a woman being so open and in control of her own story." Gaslit. In one move, she'd turned her manipulation into an act of feminist bravery, and my legitimate concern into some kind of internalized misogyny. She made me the villain for questioning her. I walked away from both conversations feeling like I'd been hit by a truck. They were impenetrable. Their worldviews were hermetically sealed fortresses of self-justification. Olivia was a ruthless capitalist in her marriage, seeing Liam as an asset to be squeezed for maximum value. Sophia was an emotional tyrant, seeing Ethan as a character to be manipulated for her audience's consumption. They had both found the perfect ideological shields for their behavior. Olivia's greed was having high standards. Sophia's cruelty was being authentic and vulnerable. And my brothers were being crushed under the weight of it all. I felt helpless. Anything I said would be twisted and used against me. All I could do was watch. And the whole time, a voice in the back of my head was screaming that my entire understanding of the world was wrong. I thought men held the power, but what I was seeing wasn't power. It was slow-motion surrender. I was watching two good men, my brothers, who were trying their best to be good husbands, being systematically dismantled by the women they loved. And the world, the same world that had taught me all my theories, would have looked at Olivia and Sophia and called them strong, empowered women. The final act was coming. The foundations were gone. The house was about to collapse. I just didn't realize it would happen so spectacularly, and all at once. The breaking point came on a Saturday night in late summer. It was my parents' wedding anniversary. Not a big milestone one, just another year to celebrate. My mom wanted a simple family dinner, just us. The 6 of us plus our parents. In hindsight, it was like putting 2 lit fuses in a room full of dynamite and hoping for the best. The mood was tense from the moment everyone arrived. Liam and Olivia were barely speaking. They communicated through clipped one-word answers. Liam looked like a man walking to his own execution. Olivia had a brittle, glittering energy, like she was spoiling for a fight. Ethan and Sophia arrived last. They put on a show for my parents, big smiles and a happy anniversary hug. But I saw Ethan's hand tremble slightly as he handed my mom a gift. Sophia was already taking a picture of the dinner table setting for a post. Business as usual. We sat down to eat. The conversation was stilted and awkward. My dad tried to tell a joke. It fell flat. My mom kept trying to ask cheerful questions, only to be met with monosyllabic replies. It was Olivia who lit the match. She'd had a couple of glasses of wine very quickly. It didn't make her sloppy. It made her sharp and cruel. My dad was telling a story about when he and my mom first started dating. It was a sweet, simple story. Olivia let out a short, sharp laugh. God, things were so simple back then, weren't they? She said, looking at no one in particular. Find a decent man with a steady job, pop out a couple of kids, and settle. How quaint. My mom looked hurt. It was a wonderful life, Olivia. Oh, I'm sure it was, she replied, her voice dripping with condescension. But some of us want more than just decent. Some of us want a partner who is our equal, someone who challenges us, who isn't afraid of success. She looked directly at Liam. My brother put his fork down. very slowly, very deliberately. "Olivia," he said, his voice dangerously low, "stop it." That was exactly what she wanted, a reaction. Stop what, Liam? Stop telling the truth? Stop wishing my husband had a tenth of the ambition of the men his wife has to socialize with every day? The table went silent. You could hear a pin drop. "The men I have to make excuses for you two," she continued, her voice rising. "The wives ask me what you do, and I have to find a polite way to say he plays in the dirt. While their husbands are closing deals and flying to Singapore, mine is worried about the price of lumber." Liam just stared at her, his face a mask of stone. He wasn't going to give her a fight. Not here. Not in front of our parents. His silence infuriated her more than any argument would have. She stood up, her chair scraping loudly against the floor. "You know what your problem is, Liam? You have no passion, no fire. You're just solid, like a rock, boring and dependable. Do you know how suffocating that is?" She looked around the table, a wild look in her eyes. I had to find that passion somewhere else. She turned back to Liam, a triumphant, ugly smirk on her face. "His name is Julian. He's my yoga instructor. And unlike you, he actually knows what to do with a woman's body. He worships it." The confession hung in the air, thick and poisonous. My mom made a small, choked sound. My dad looked like he'd been physically struck. Liam didn't move. He didn't even blink. He just sat there, absorbing the public humiliation, the ultimate betrayal. The light in his eyes I'd seen flicker out weeks ago was now completely gone. There was nothing there. But the drama wasn't over. As if on cue, Ethan, who had been sitting silently next to me, made a strange gasping noise. I turned to him. All the color had drained from his face. He was covered in a cold sweat. He clutched his chest, his eyes wide with panic. I can't breathe," he wheezed. "My arm. It feels numb." My blood ran cold. Heart attack. My dad shot up from his chair. "Zoe, call 911. And that's when Sophia moved. She didn't reach for her husband. She didn't reach for her phone to call for help. She pulled out her phone, fumbled with it for a second, and then propped it up against a wine glass. The screen went live. "Oh my God, you guys," she said, her voice a perfect blend of manufactured panic and breathless drama. "Something is happening with Ethan. He's having some kind of medical emergency. Please, send us your prayers and support right now." I couldn't believe what I was seeing. My brother was in the middle of a potential life-or-death crisis, and she was turning it into content. I lunged across the table and snatched her phone. "What is wrong with you?" I screamed, my voice raw. "He needs a doctor, not an audience." For a split second, her mask slipped. I saw a flash of pure reptilian fury in her eyes. "Give me my phone back," she hissed. "This is important." My dad was already on the line with the emergency operator. I was trying to help Ethan, loosening his collar, talking to him, trying to keep him calm. Liam was still frozen, looking at Olivia as if she were a ghost. The two women who had sworn to love and honor my brothers had, in the space of 60 seconds, utterly destroyed them. One with a bomb of infidelity, the other with the cold poison of narcissism. The paramedics arrived. They were professional, calm. They assessed Ethan. It wasn't a heart attack, they said. It was a severe panic attack, brought on by what looked like a prolonged period of intense stress. They took him to the hospital to be sure. My mom went with him. After the ambulance left, the house was deathly quiet. Olivia was still standing there, looking slightly deflated now that the attention was no longer on her. Liam finally stood up. He walked over to her. He didn't yell. He didn't even seem angry. He just looked empty. "Get your things," he said, his voice flat, "and get out of my house." Then he turned, walked out the back door, and I heard his truck start and drive away. Sophia was demanding her phone back from me. She was telling me I had no right. that I had ruined a crucial moment of connection with her community. I didn't say a word. I just held up the phone, opened her gallery, and deleted the video of my brother's collapse. Then I handed it back to her. She looked at me with a hatred so pure it was chilling. Then she turned and walked out, not even asking which hospital her husband had been taken to. My dad and I were left alone in the wreckage of the dining room. The half-eaten anniversary dinner sat on the table like a funeral feast. We didn't say anything for a long time. Finally, my dad spoke, his voice heavy. "I never thought I'd see a day like this." "I thought they were happy," I whispered. He looked at me, his eyes full of a deep, ancient sadness. "They were," he said, "until being happy was no longer enough." The aftermath was swift and brutal. Both marriages were over. The divorces were filed within a week. Olivia's was a masterclass in legal warfare. She played the victim card perfectly. She claimed Liam was emotionally neglectful, that his obsession with his working-class business had driven her into the arms of another man. She used the language of therapy and self-empowerment to paint her infidelity as a desperate act of self-preservation. Her lawyer argued that her emotional labor and her role as a hostess who helped him network, which was a complete fabrication, entitled her to half of the business. The courts, it seems, agreed. She got half. She didn't want to run a construction company, of course. She forced a sale of her shares, cashing out for a massive sum that crippled the business's finances. The last I heard, she and the yoga instructor were traveling through Southeast Asia. She got everything she wanted. Sophia's divorce was fought in the court of public opinion. She posted a long, professionally edited video 2 days after the dinner. She was crying, but her makeup was perfect. She spoke about her journey with Ethan, how she had tried so hard to support him through his bouts of emotional instability. She used my actions at the dinner, screaming at her, taking her phone, as proof of how toxic the family environment was. She painted herself as a martyr who had finally found the strength to leave a relationship that was damaging her mental health. Her follower count exploded. She got a sponsorship deal with a wellness app. She became a poster child for surviving a toxic relationship. Ethan, meanwhile, was advised by his lawyer to stay silent. Anything he said would just be used as more content against him. He lost his wife, his home. The apartment was in her name for her business, and his reputation, all in one fell swoop. He and Liam both ended up moving back into my parents' house. 2 broken men in their 30s, sleeping in their childhood bedrooms. The house was quiet, too quiet. The boisterous energy of my brothers was gone, replaced by a heavy blanket of grief and exhaustion. I stayed for a few more months, trying to help. I watched them slowly, painfully, start to put the pieces of their lives back together. Liam had to let go of half his staff. He was working 16-hour days, driving the truck, swinging a hammer, doing the jobs of 3 men just to keep his now smaller company from going under. Ethan started seeing a therapist. He didn't touch his graphic design tablet for weeks. Instead, he started sketching in an old notebook, things he hadn't drawn since he was a kid. One evening, months later, I found them both sitting on the back deck, just watching the sunset. It was the first time I'd seen them voluntarily spend time together since everything fell apart. I sat down with them. We didn't talk for a while. Then Ethan spoke. "You know," he said softly, "the weirdest part is, I thought I was doing everything right. I listened. I supported her career. I was open with my feelings. I tried to be the man they tell you to be." Liam nodded, staring out at the horizon. "I thought so too. I worked hard. I provided. I didn't complain. I tried to give her the life she said she wanted. I thought that was the deal." They had both followed the rules of their respective games, the progressive game and the traditional game, and they had both lost everything. In that moment, Sitting there between my two shattered brothers, my entire worldview collapsed. All my neat theories about patriarchy, toxic masculinity, and female empowerment felt like a sick joke. I had seen toxic behavior. I had seen oppression. But it wasn't coming from the men. It was coming from women who had expertly learned to weaponize the language of victimhood and empowerment to serve their own bottomless narcissism and greed. They had used the ideals I held dear as a shield for their own cruelty. I looked at my brothers. They weren't enforcers of the patriarchy or examples of toxic masculinity. They were just men. Good men who had loved their wives and had been utterly destroyed for it. I thought I was the enlightened one in the family, the one who saw the world clearly. But I had been blind. I'd been so caught up in my ideology that I couldn't see the reality right in front of me. I hadn't seen my brothers. I'd only seen the labels I'd put on them. "I'm sorry," I said, my voice barely a whisper, "for everything. I never saw what was happening. I didn't get it." Ethan turned to me. The hollow look was gone from his eyes. It was replaced by something else, not pity, understanding. He gave me a small, sad smile. "It's okay, Zoe," he said. "None of us did. Not until it was too late." I left to go back to my own life a few weeks after that. But I wasn't the same person. I couldn't look at the world the same way again. I'd spent my whole life looking for a monster that my books told me was everywhere. But I'd been looking in the wrong direction. The real monsters are the ones who convince the world they are the victims.